Good evening. Tonight, for our They Just Don't Get It segment, we're going to look at giving and the church. More specifically, we're going to look at one particular church who delights in doing things differently from the rest. Most churches today rely on pledges, annual appeals, weekly envelopes to raise money. Whether these techniques, which came into vogue in the early decades of the 20th century, can meet the needs of the 21st century church remains to be seen. But I must tell you, nothing is more satisfying than seeing a good old-fashioned plate being passed down the rows of a congregation. Keeping a close eye on the plates gives an immediate indication to a pastor whether or not his weekly budget will be met. And if he feels too little has been given, he still has time to look his flock in the eye and make them understand the error of their sinful ways. But while so many churches understand how to properly apply guilt, there is one church that has foolishly turned from years and years of this beloved tradition. Speaking, of course, of Grace Life Fellowship. Apparently, passing a plate is beneath them. They've chosen to rely on love, sound doctrine to raise money.
You should have gotten a bulletin. If you would, please grab it. And there's a tear out in there that says guest registration. If you would please fill it out with your name and address. Put it in one of those offering boxes on the back wall, but do not put any money in. You are a guest here. Do not put any money in. Do not put any money in. Do not put any money in.
Can you please show me where the chapter is on that? Who does this church think that they are? No plate is passed. No shame is applied. Where would the Christian community be today if all churches followed their example and stopped doling out healthy doses of guilt each week? Without guilt, what would entice a person to wake up early on Sunday morning? Much less give away their hard-earned money. Without tithes, how would the church stay in business? Operating as they do, it's a wonder Grace Life Fellowship is able to keep the lights on, much less properly fund their youth ministry. In fact, a recent visit to their youth group one Sunday evening was very revealing. Here the youth are enjoying some praise and worship. Notice the frugality of the church, purchasing instruments that are small and easily packed. And here we see the youth eagerly await as Tim Chalice passes out snacks during snack time. While there, this reporter learned of a planned trip to Tennessee this summer. They're taking the youth to help re-roof houses for the poor and underprivileged. And just how do they plan to do that? Prayer and fasting. It's my understanding that a small group of the youth, recognizing their dilemma, has decided to take matters into their own hands and has already begun hitchhiking their way to eastern Tennessee in order to arrive in time for their service project. I admire those kids. They realize the folly of sitting around and waiting on God. They realize He has many more important things to deal with right now, and they've obviously learned the valuable lesson that God helps those who help themselves. Just before airtime today, it was discovered that the youth leadership actually planned a fundraiser for this mission trip. Apparently, it will be in the form of a gala and a silent auction. It's been reported that this is their third year to hold a silent auction, with past years proving fairly successful, though surely not as successful as passing the plate multiple times during the morning service until the body hears the voice of the Lord and gives what they should have given in the first place. This year's gala will be held on Friday, April 16th at the home of Kyle and Susan Ward. Though living in such a house like that, it certainly seems they've gotten off fairly cheaply. Surely they could fund the whole trip. $40 a person will get you in the door of this event, where you will be able to participate in the silent auction and enjoy music, dancing, heavy hors d'oeuvres, beer and wine. Beer and wine. Well, it's good to know they realize they'll have to rely on something more than generosity to loosen people's holds on their pocketbooks. A sitter will be provided for the evening, and they are requesting that any who will need this service RSVP by April 2nd. all so complicated. I ask you, wouldn't it be easier if they just passed the plate? So there you have it. Grace Life Fellowship, a foolish little upstart church that just doesn't get it.